Hey everybody, it's Shaman Sister Sin, and you're listening to the Meditations and More podcast brought to you by shamanspiritcenter.com and littleshaman.org. That's me, Little Shaman. Today I wanted to talk to you about something that is crucial to understand when you're dealing with narcissists, and that is that they do not engage in what's called reality testing. This is something that influences many of the behaviors you see from narcissistic people, so it's important to understand what it is and how it works. So, what is reality testing? Reality testing is, to put it very simply, the way that we discern between fact and fiction. We all have thoughts and feelings that are illogical or not based in reality from time to time. We all have thinking errors and cognitive missteps. For example, someone might believe that another person dislikes them because that person didn't return the friendly wave that they gave them. In reality, maybe the person didn't see them or wasn't paying attention. Someone might think they smell bad because a passenger on the bus that was sitting beside them switched seats, when in reality it could be that the seat they were sitting in was uncomfortable. Reality testing is the process through which you look at a situation and decide whether your thoughts and feelings about it are realistic and logical. There are two different worlds that each of us is perceiving all the time: our internal world and the external world. There is what's going on in our heads and what's actually happening. When someone cannot tell the difference between these things, when reality testing fails, in other words, there's dysfunction, sometimes serious dysfunction. For example, paranoid delusions are an example of reality testing failure. Reality does not support what this person believes, but for some reason that's not affecting their belief. Usually it's because they're unable to see that. Their perceptions are coloring reality in such a way that to them, it looks like reality does support what they believe. That's why they're experiencing delusions. For example, if your partner is out late, you might get this idea that they're cheating on you. Now, you know you have no reason to think that, and you understand that feelings are not facts, so you can examine the situation and realize that those thoughts and feelings are not really logical. You can test reality and see, okay, my thoughts and feelings don't really line up here. As another example, you might get really angry or really upset about something, but then you can look back on it and realize that you overreacted. Those are examples of using reality testing to examine the relationship between your internal world and the external one. You are able to examine your thinking, realize that you had a thinking error, and correct that. Pathologically narcissistic people do not seem able to make a distinction between their internal and external experiences. To them, feelings are facts. Feelings are evidence. Therefore, there is no difference between the internal world they experience and the external one. If something is real in the internal world, it's real in the external world, and then they interpret all the data in a situation to reflect that. That's why if you get the idea that a partner is cheating, but you have no real reason to think that, you can understand that this is just fear, not reality. You may examine reality and search for facts and evidence, but you don't take your feelings as facts and evidence. When a narcissist gets this idea, it becomes a fact, regardless of what is actually happening. Facts and evidence do not sway them because they're interpreting everything so that it reflects what's happening on their internal landscape. The core of narcissism is the failure to distinguish the self from external objects. Distinguishing the self from external objects means that the person understands they are a complete, individual, independent, and separate person who exists apart from other people, someone who experiences the world through their own perception and acts autonomously. Very young children cannot create or sustain their own identity or self-worth because they have no real sense of self yet. It's still developing. This is why when you put a baby in front of the mirror, they don't realize that it's themselves that they're looking at. They experience the world and themselves through their caregivers. The separation of these things is crucial to healthy development of identity, ego, and many other things. That is something that's supposed to happen very early in a child's development, but it does not happen correctly or completely for pathologically narcissistic people. Because of that, they seem to be stuck forever in the phase of development where their self-worth relies completely on the participation of other people, and their ability to test reality is minimal to non-existent, as it is for a very small child. If you ask a narcissist how they engage in reality testing or what reality testing looks like for them, you are likely to get a blank stare. They do not understand what that means. Why would they need to test reality? It feels real, therefore it is real, and that's all they need to know. In order to be a cohesive, integrated personality, someone must be able to engage in reality testing. Otherwise, there can be no distinction made between what goes on in somebody's head and what is actually happening. If someone simply accepts and believes that their thoughts and feelings are fact, regardless of what's going on in reality, they will generally behave in ways that create problems for themselves and for others because they are doing or saying things that don't make sense in the context of the situation. This is what you see with pathologically narcissistic people. Their behavior makes no sense, and that's because they're not reacting to the external reality. They're reacting to their internal one. This is the reason that of the very few therapeutic methods that work with narcissistic people who are not pathological, one of the modalities that shows even the slightest bit of effectiveness is cognitive behavioral therapy. Cognitive behavioral therapy is designed to help people test reality against their thoughts and feelings so they can make corrections in thinking errors that they're having. This in turn helps them to understand that what they are perceiving is not necessarily reality and adjust their behavior accordingly. This method of treatment still does not work for pathologically narcissistic people, though, because they are either unwilling or unable to follow a new line of thinking. They're unwilling or unable to accept new information or create new beliefs. They're unwilling and unable to accept and understand that their feelings are not facts, and they cannot create enough distance between themselves and their feelings or their ego to examine these things. Most importantly, their perception is so affected by their pathology that they can't see the problem when it's happening anyway, even if they actually could do all those other things. If you're dealing with a pathologically narcissistic person, it's important to remember that this is not just a behavioral problem or even an emotional one. It's much more than that, and it's something that colors everything they think, feel, say, and do. That is the reality of the situation. For those of you who are interested, I have a mini workshop here on the channel called Challenging Negative Thinking that will sort of give you an overview as to how cognitive behavioral therapy works, and you can even participate in some by working along with the workshop. I hope that clears a few things up for you. As always, I look forward to your comments, questions, and suggestions, so please keep those coming. I take appointments online, over the phone, via text, via Messenger, via Skype, and every other way you can contact somebody probably. So if you're interested in speaking with me one-on-one, you can visit littleshaman.org to go ahead and do that. I teach workshops a few times a month, so if you're interested in seeing what's going on right now, you can visit littleshaman.org to do that as well. You've been listening to the Meditations and More podcast brought to you by littleshaman.org and shamanspiritcenter.com. That's me, Little Shaman. May the Great Spirit bless you and have a wonderful day.